What's up everyone, Anwar Thinks back once again, and today we're going to be breaking down the top 10 rookies in the wrestling card hobby. 2022 has been the most important year in the history of the wrestling card hobby. Not only are we seeing record-breaking sales, but we also saw the transfer of the license from Topps over to PANINI of the industry leader in pro wrestling, WWE. And with that in mind, I'm going to be focusing on the WWE in this video. Sure, you've got AEW, you've got Japanese cards, you've also got indie cards, but I want to go on the tried and trusted rookie logo that the WWE and PANINI are slapping on their products. Kicking us off at number 10, we have got Ava Rain. She is The Rock's daughter, so straight away, hot off the press, we are expecting massive things for her career, because let's face it, her ceiling is so high. Will she be the next Charlotte Flair, or will she be the next Eddie Guerrero's daughter who ends up in developmental and then nothing really comes of it? This year we saw her Panini Instant card come out when she made her debut, and of 5 of that card sold on eBay for $300. Now, the one of one from that set could have gone for even more if someone would have put it on eBay. And with the bidding process, with people really desperate for it, that could have gone for a higher figure and gone higher up this chart. But as we stand, Ava Rain is sliding right in at number 10. Number 9 is Nikita Lions with this SGC 10 of the Panini Select Ringside Zebra card. Or if you're American, Zebra card. However you want to pronounce it. It's a beauty of a card, and it went for $360. Now, she debuted in the WWE in NXT around WrestleMania time, around the same time that Prism was launched. So because she debuted around the same time as Prism, it didn't give them enough time to put her in that set. Now, Prism typically is going to get the way higher sales figures, so she kind of missed out on that a little bit. So maybe next year when she's in Prism, it's going to be interesting to see what her first year Prisms go for. But just in terms of the year 2022, she's had a good year. Fresh off the press when she debuted, Drake followed her on Instagram, and when that happened, not only was she getting a bit of steam in the wrestling space, but people kind of took a little sideways glance at it like, ooh, this is interesting, because if Drake's got his eye on her, then maybe there's a little bit more to her than we expected. Now, obviously, Drake has got his eye on, let's say, a lot of people, so maybe it's not that special, but he's not following every WWE diva. So it was an interesting little bit of a side note that caused that extra bit of buzz when she debuted. Yeah, either way, I'm very excited to see what her cards have in store next year. Those first year Prisms, oof, they're going to be fire. Number 8 is Gable Stevenson. He debuted again around WrestleMania time. However, this time, Panini knew that he was going to be debuting, so they made sure to get him in that debut product. However, it's not one of his Prism cards that got the high figures in the last few months. What actually got the high number was another Panini Select Ringside Zebra card, this time in a PSA 10, which sold for $425. Now, when he debuted in WWE, especially in the card space, he was very hot, but let's be honest, he has cooled a hell of a lot in the subsequent, let's say, 7.5 months. People aren't as high on him as they were in April. Now, will they be proved wrong? Will they be proved right? That's for the future to tell us. But what I know is, I'm very intrigued about the potential career of Gable Stevenson. The UFC wanted him. Obviously, he was a stellar amateur wrestler. He had that the Olympic record, which everyone was like raving over. And that's why WWE and UFC were both gunning for him. And I think he made maybe the right decision, because in the UFC, listen, if you go there and you end up flopping, you lose a few fights, you're just going to be a mid-level guy. But if you go to the WWE, you make a real name for yourself, and then you bounce in a few years. You're still young enough to go to the UFC and do some damage, especially in the heavyweight division, which isn't as diverse. Obviously, it's got people like Tim Osman. Anyway, this isn't a UFC video. This is a WWE video. I'm telling you, I'm still very interested in Gable Stevenson. Number 7 is maybe the most interesting in-ring year of anyone on this entire list, and it is Roxanne Perez, who started the year as the Ring of Honor champion. She's ending the year as the NXT Women's Champion. And in the middle of that, she was NXT Women's Tag Team Champion. Now, the card of hers that I want to talk about in this video is the Panini Select Gold Mezzanine of 10 card that sold for $500 for this card. People expect big, big things from Perez, and she is already proving it in the ring. Will that transfer over to the main roster? People are big time prospecting on her already, but yeah, very, very interesting going forward. Number 6 is Tiffany Stratton, and their first appearance on my list of the fabled Panini Prism. It's the of 3 gold shimmer card. Now, this card went for $595, and I'll be honest with you all right now, I don't know too much about Tiffany Stratton, to the point where when I was writing this list, I thought to myself, wait a second, I don't really know much about her, let me research her. And I found that she doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. She is someone who we're not just prospecting on, we are kind of going for mega scratch on this one. But if she does have, say, Tiffany Stratton, Trish Stratus, you see what they're trying to do there with the naming. If she has that similar career path, where Trish is considered one of the GOATs in women's wrestling, if Tiffany can get to that level, this card at $595 is going to look like an absolute steal. Our number 5 is JC Jane, and the card I'm talking about is the 1/1 NXT RPA Rookie Patch Auto, which went for $650. She's the current WWE NXT Women's Champion. She's featured on the main roster. What has the future got in store for dear JC Jane? I wrote to explain. I'm your biggest fan. Our number 4 is Jade, also Women's NXT Tag Team Champion. This card, we're going back to Panini Prism, but we're featuring the autographing Prism this time. And it's a gold of 10, which sold for $699. Now, she really landed on my radar when Darby Allin was starting this little bit of a feud with her online, where he was basically like, well, for me, skating is a way of life. It's not just a character I play on TV. And then Jade bit back with something pretty damn heavy, which I don't want to go into right now because it's libelous? Is that the right word? Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't want to get sued by the man. Anyway, Jade, she's absolutely riding that line. Whether she's riding it on a skateboard or not, that's for you to decide. Either way, she has got a massive fan base. In fact, out of everyone on this list, she had the highest frequency of plus $200 sales of cards. Like, so many of her cards were selling for over $200. And whether it's just one person buying them up, or whether it's just loads of people just wanting a piece of the action, I can't really tell you. But that was very, very interesting to me. And Jade, hey, massive hype within the hobby. Number 3 is Ivy Nile with a Panini WWE Prism 1/1, which sold for $779. Now, this is another one of the people on the list who I don't know much about. So when I went online to kind of figure out a little bit more, I'll be honest with you, I do know a little bit more actually about Ivy Nile. Ivy Nile has got that kind of interesting kind of petite, but like strong frame on her. Like it's really eye-catching when you see it. I don't really want to talk about it in too much detail because it's kind of hard to word it without kind of sounding like a creep, but you know what I mean? She's got that petite but strong frame, and it's like I say, it is really eye-catching, and I think she could have a really great career in the WWE just based off a look, never mind her in-ring skills and what she brings to the table there. Obviously, that will just be a multiplier of her look, but that's kind of how women's wrestling often works, is that your looks and your ability becomes like the multiplier. Not that it doesn't exist within the men as well, but like you can have people like, let's just say Rick Steiner. I'm bringing his name up because it's going to be relevant later on. Let's bring up someone like Rikishi again, relevant later on. 2 people that you would never call supermodels or extremely attractive, but could have like, you know, full-time careers in the WWE and in pro wrestling for decades without having that. Now, Ivy Nile again, doesn't have a Wikipedia page. So very, very fresh in her pro wrestling career. But like I say, with a sale like this hitting in the last 3 months of 2022, you can see that people, at least one person, is very, very interested to see where Nile goes in the future. And they're betting on her. Even though this next man is in at number 2, I'm putting up the 1. Because we're the ones. And I'm talking about a 1 of 1 for Solo Sikoa. Now, this is his Panini Impeccable. And the only entrance of Impeccable on the entire list. The Panini Impeccable 1 of 1 gold bar half troy ounce. Which sold for $1,700. He's part of the bloodline. He's Rikishi's son. I just mentioned Rikishi in the last part. Obviously brothers with the Usos. Just got his main roster call up. In fact, did he even make his debut at Clash of the Castle that I was at? Or am I conflating it with something else that I saw when he made his debut and I was like, wow, this is interesting. No, I'm pretty sure he did. Either way, Solo Sikoa is someone who I find very, very intriguing. The fact that he's debuting into that group. Will he be another Ted DiBiase Jr.? Or will he be another Randy Orton? Both debuting and heavily featuring in the early days in a stable. And in at number 1, we have Bronbreaker, son of Rick Steiner, nephew of Scott Steiner. Why didn't they just call him Bron Steiner? I don't know. I can't tell you. Well, I can. Is Vince McMahon all over? But let's talk about his card, because that's what we're here to do. And we want to talk about the Panini Select 1 of 1 Mezzanine BGS 9, which sold for $2,600. He's the NXT Heavyweight Champion. He is the person alongside Gable Stevenson at the start of this year that everyone was looking at going, wow, these two have a future massive career ahead of them, and now people are throwing Solo into that group as well. I find it extremely, extremely interesting that when I was compiling this list, I'm going to tell you right now how I did this list. I went back through all the sales in the last 3 months on eBay, the Panini rookie cards, and I made the list of everyone who had the highest sales, and then I just ranked them from top to bottom. That's why we started with like, what, $300 for Ava Rain of 5 Panini Instant to now $2,600, the 1 of 1 Panini Select for Bronbreaker, and that's what I did. So we're going off the last 3 months, and what was really, really interesting, if you look through this list, no one is starting in the WWE off their own back fresh in terms of the men. You've got 3 men in this list. 2 of them are legacy stars, son of Rikishi, son of Rick Steiner in Bronbreaker and Solo Sikoa. The other one is coming off the back of a tremendous amateur wrestling career in Gable Stevenson. None of the males in this list is, let's just say, like a Rick Boogs. I mean, Rick Boogs isn't in the NXT anymore, but you know what I'm saying? Like someone who just like come out of nowhere and just became a wrestler. There's none of that in terms of the men. All these men, they're legacy people, and they're getting that massive leg up because they're legacy people. If you've not got that, obviously, that's legacy not the right word to use for Stevenson, obviously, but he's got a legacy from his past career, if that makes sense. Excuse me. But then the rest of this list is 7 females now. That, to me, is extremely interesting because the world of pro wrestling for decades was dominated by men, rightly or wrongly. We're now getting to a stage where there are more and more women on the roster, and it's easy for people, which I hear them all the time. I hear, I'm not here to talk politics, but I hear a certain segment of people talking about, oh, the women are being shoved down our throats or whatever they say. But this list proves that that's kind of not right, because this list is based off what people are actually buying. So the people are speaking with their wallets, and 7 out of 10 went towards the females. Now, sure, 1 and 2 might have been 2 men, but if we're looking at, if you're going to have a card of just 10 people, the people want 7 women on it. The people are going for these women's cards. The people are saying that I believe that this woman's going to be a megastar more than they're thinking of whoever the men are on the roster, which I think is a really interesting paradigm shift, not only in the world of pro wrestling, but in our society in general. I think pro wrestling has got a tremendous future ahead of itself, where we can kind of level out how it's worked for years and years, where the men were always on top. Now it's being mixed in nicely, and we're seeing how we're kind of getting to a stage where wrestling's kind of better than it's ever been. There's like so much good wrestling on TV. I can't keep up. I barely get to watch it because there's so much good stuff. In fact, I just go back to my comfort place and I go back and watch the mid-90s. I go back and watch Rikishi and Rick Steiner. But these people, when I go watching live, they're putting on great shows. I think it's very interesting what this list reflects. But what I also want to know is what you guys think. So, are you surprised by the list? Do you have a better list that goes through the entire year where you can say, well, listen, Anwar, you missed this sale and this sale and this sale, which would shift the balance of your list a little bit, or maybe someone would rise up the list and someone would drop down the list. I'm very interested to hear those things, so sure, shoot them at me. Let me know those things in the comments section down below. Let me know your thoughts, let me know your opinions. That's what all this is about. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button down below and ding that notification bell. That way, every time I make a video, you'll be the first person who hears about it. And with that, I am out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great 2023. I hope your 2022 has been fantastic. And I'll see you very soon with more videos.